This is the story of the shortest president in U.S. history and how he died. And I'll give you a hint. Eating poison and taking drugs might be involved. William Henry Harrison was elected president in 1841. Standing 5'8", he wasn't particularly short. In fact, he was 4 inches taller than James Madison, who was a tiny 5'4". What really makes Harrison stand out was his length of term, a minuscule 1 month in office. Running for the Whig Party, he entered office in 1841, opening strong by presenting the longest inauguration speech in American history, like 3,000 words longer than the next closest. It was literally like a 2-hour speech, just non-stop talking. He basically conducted himself throughout his short presidency by behaving the exact opposite of what your mom would tell you to do. And by that, I mean this guy just kept going outside, dripping wet, no coat, just taunting God to make him sick. First, he refused to wear a coat or a hat or gloves during that extremely long presidential speech, while it was raining and freezing cold. He also liked to go on long walks, again, without a coat or hat. And just before he got sick, some more foreshadowing for you, he went on a long walk in the frigid rain and then elected to just spend the rest of the day in his wet clothes. Of course, he got sick. The commonly accepted historical diagnosis is pneumonia, but this might not actually be true. After all, 2 previous presidents, James Knox Polk and Zachary Taylor, had similar symptoms, which match up with something called enteric fever, which is typhoid. Enter personal physician of the president, Dr. Thomas Miller. Consulted 3 weeks post-inauguration, with Willie claiming anxiety and fatigue, the president claimed he would recover soon as he was fasting and taking a still unknown medicine. He also noted a history of neuralgia, nerve pain, and chronic dyspepsia, indigestion, which he controlled by eating animal food. First, I don't know what the hell that means. Second, dyspepsia is where the name for Pepsi comes from, since the inventors claimed it would help with upset stomachs, which, trust me, if you drink an entire 2-liter by yourself, it will not do. Anyway, the next day, Harrison complained of a chill. I'm going to do my best to summarize the treatment he received. Miller started by applying mustard to the president's stomach. He prescribed warm drinks, diaphoretics, which make you sweat, and ammonium acetate. Our friend William Henry Harrison was also not pooping, so he gave him a laxative. Oh, and something called Mars Hydrarg, which is just a mercury and iron combination. He also administered frequent enemas, trying to flush the poop out, and continued laxatives. Our friend Dr. Miller also gave Harrison laudanum, which is just drinkable opium. Notably, Miller decided not to bleed him as he was nauseated and faint, and instead opted for cupping. Harrison was given Dover's powder, which also contains opium, but he still wasn't getting better, even though he was given more enemas, laxatives, and rubbed all over with Mars Hydrarg. Descriptions of his excrement over this period include fetid, dark, and green. 2 other doctors, Worthington and Hall, joined as consultants, and they agreed that Miller was doing a great job. Keep giving him enemas, just add some ammonia to them. These doctors continued to give him Mars Hydrarg and more opium. They also gave him some blue mass, which is another mercury-containing substance. He developed a cough and he was treated with morphia. Yep, more opium, and cough syrup. The ridiculous amount of laxatives clearly were working, as the medical notes indicate that he had a copious evacuation. However, he was becoming increasingly weak. He was given more laudanum, opium, stimulants, mustard plasters, more of the same, but soon after he finally croaked. Accepted diagnosis, pneumonia. But even Miller wasn't confident. Harrison had too many gastrointestinal issues. So returning to the idea of enteric fever, there's a decent chance this is caused by typhoid. After all, there was no sewer system in Washington in 1841, or anywhere else in the U.S. Sewage from nearby buildings flowed onto public ground near the White House, where it stagnated and formed a marsh. The White House water supply came from a spring 7 blocks from a night soil repository, which is just poop. Polk and Taylor also struggled with gastrointestinal illness while president. Interestingly, his dyspepsia also put him at risk, as the contemporary treatment could allow bacterial pathogens to survive the stomach. Also, there was no known treatment for enteric at this time regardless, so he was pretty screwed. Although force-feeding him laxatives and opium was probably not the best treatment plan. I read the New England Journal of Medicine's article on the situation, published right after it happened, and they actually agreed with me. Well, not exactly. They just said that Miller should have performed more bloodletting, or as the article phrases it, Much more mischief is done by bleeding too little than by bleeding too much. Now, as William Henry Harrison said in the conclusion of his mammoth inauguration speech, I now take an affectionate leave of you.